Hello everyone, Daria here and welcome to episode 22 of the Slow Russian Language Podcast. Today we're going to talk about the history of ancient Russia. So here comes the text. История Древней Руси. В первом тысячелетии нашей эры территорию современной Восточной Европы населяли многочисленные племена славян. Поляне, древляне, кривичи, вятичи и другие. Они занимались охотой, рыболовством, ремеслом. Древнерусское государство берет свое начало в 862 году, когда поляне позвали варяжского князя Рюрика править ими. Рюрик стал родоначальником династии, которая просуществовала до XVI века и прервалась на сыне Ивана Грозного. Главные центры Древней Руси – города Киев и Новгород. К XII веку численность населения в них достигала 15 тысяч человек. В других городах – Рязань, Псков, Смоленск – было не более 1000 жителей. До X века главной религией славян было язычество. Люди верили в богов природы. Перун – бог грома, Ярило – бог солнца и так далее. В 988 году князь Владимир приказал всем жителям Киева обратиться в христианство. Согласно легенде, людей загнали в реку. Это и был процесс крещения. С тех пор Россия приняла православие. That was it for the text. Now let's try to read it again sentence by sentence and translate it. История Древней Руси. History of ancient Russia. You see that Russia, Россия, was called Русь in those times. So the first sentence. В первом тысячелетии нашей эры территорию современной Восточной Европы населяли многочисленные племена славян. In the first millennium AD, the territory of modern Eastern Europe was inhabited by numerous Slavic tribes. So AD in Russia is нашей эры, and before Christ we say до нашей эры. Literally, it can be translated as after our era and before it. So that territory of Europe was inhabited by numerous tribes. Многочисленные племена. Многочисленный means a lot, means amount of something. Multiple, numerous, something like that. For example, numerous problems didn't allow me to finish my project. Многочисленные проблемы не позволили мне закончить проект. Многочисленные. Много проблем. And here много племен. Много славянских племен. Поляне, древляне, кривичи, вятичи и другие. Okay, the next sentence. Они занимались охотой, рыболовством, ремеслом. They engaged in hunting, fishing, crafts. You can say just to hunt, охотиться, or like here, заниматься охотой, охотиться, to hunt. And ремесло, crafts, means all those things of metal, jewelry, the things they produced. Okay, the next sentence. Древнерусское государство берет свое начало в 862 году, когда поляне позвали варяжского князя Рюрика править ими. The state of ancient Russia dates back to 862, when the Polans asked the Varangian prince Rюрик to rule them. So here you see the adjective Древнерусское. It comes from two words, древний, ancient, and русский, which is obvious for you, I guess, Russian. Древняя Русь, Древнерусское государство, the state of ancient Russia. Берёт своё начало, dates back. Literally it means it takes its beginning in some time. Берёт начало. В 862 году, 862. Of course, it's not a correct date, absolutely true, because it's all part of a legend, and it's a very controversial topic. There are so many points of view about it. Anyway, officially, it's 862. Когда поляне, Polans, it's one of those Slavic tribes, позвали варяжского князя Рюрика править ими. I'm not sure how to pronounce Varangian. In Russian, it's varyak. They came from Scandinavian lands, and according to legend, Slavs just couldn't govern themselves. There was chaos, they were killing each other, and finally they grew tired of it and decided to ask someone from abroad to come and to govern, to rule. So they asked this Князь Рюрик, and I don't like this version of translation prince, because prince, in Russian we have the very same word, принц, is usually associated with something different. It's more like a son of the king, and князь, it's more like a warrior. He's a leader of all the soldiers of army. That's why he was a leader at the first place. So, князь Рюрик. Позвали Рюрика править ими. Править. Править means to govern, to rule. It's the verb, obviously, and the noun is правительство, government. Правительство правит. The government rules. Okay, the next sentence. Рюрик стал родоначальником династии, которая просуществовала до XVI века и прервалась на сыне Ивана Грозного. Rürik became a founder of the dynasty that lasted until the 16th century and ended with the son of Ivan the Terrible. Родоначальник comes from two words, род и начать, начало. Он начал род, начал династию. He was the founder of this dynasty. And this dynasty lasted until the 16th century, until Ivan the Terrible came to power. And again, this translation is not correct. Иван Грозный, Грозный, is more like Ivan the Dreadful. And terrible in Russian is ужасный. And he was not ужасный. He was more like everyone was terrified around him, so he was Грозный. Anyway, officially in English, he is Ivan the Terrible. So his son was the last grandson of that very first prince who came to Russia in the 9th century. So it was quite a long dynasty. Okay, the next sentence. Главные центры Древней Руси – города Киев и Новгород. The main centers of ancient Russia were Kiev and Novgorod. Yes, that very same Kiev, which is now the capital of Ukraine. It's one of my most favorite cities in the whole world. It's just so stunningly beautiful. Really, I'm in love with this city. Unfortunately, because of all this tension between our countries, I can't go there now. But I hope that in the foreseeable future it will be possible, because I miss this city so much and people there are so friendly and nice, and it's just sad what's going on. Okay, we're moving to the next sentence. К XII веку численность населения в них достигала 15 тысяч человек. By the 12th century, the population reached 15,000 of people. Численность населения, it's population. Or just население is a population too. Численность means amount of something, the quantity of something. Like here, it means how many people were there. For example, численность населения Москвы 15 миллионов человек. Moscow population is about 15 million. And it's just the official number. I'm sure that there is so much more than that because thousands and thousands of people arrive here every day from the former Soviet republics and they stay here illegally. So I guess there may be about 20 million. It's a huge city here. So, the next sentence. В других городах Рязань, Псков, Смоленск было не более 1000 жителей. In other cities, Рязань, Pskov, Smolensk, it was no more than 1,000. And again, amazing cities. If you are in Moscow, spend a couple hours driving and go to Рязань. It's just wonderful. And the last part of this text about religion. До X века главной религией славян было язычество. Until the 10th century, the main religion of the Slavs was paganism. Язычество. They were pagans. Язычество. Люди верили в богов природы. People believed in gods of nature. Боги, gods. Бог, God. Перун, бог грома. Ярила, бог солнца и так далее. Perun, god of thunder, Yarila, the god of sun, and so on. This Perun was the main god. He was also the god of storm, the god of war, and all the soldiers and that knязь cherished him. There were idols everywhere around the cities, and when the Christianity came, all those idols were destroyed. So, в 988 году князь Владимир приказал всем жителям Киева обратиться в христианство. In 988, Prince Vladimir ordered everyone in Kiev to convert to Christianity. This князь Vladimir is a very interesting figure in our history, you know. According to legend, he had about 500 wives. And he was thieving, he was murdering people, he was raping girls and kidnapping them. And after this 988, when he Christianized Russia, he's a saint now. Can you imagine anything more ridiculous than that? That's why I so don't like our church, because it's just so absurd. How can they make saints of those guys? There are so many of them. Our famous Alexander Nevsky was killing people and cutting their tongues off and many, many bad things. And just because he was fighting against European knights with their religion, that's why he's a saint now. And he's really saint. His icons are in our churches and people go put candles in front of it. It's just, I don't know, it's so absurd. Anyway, this князь Vladimir, who was the greatest admirer of that Perun god himself, all of a sudden he needed friendship with Byzantium, so he had to convert Russia to Christianity. We already talked about this expression, принять христианство, обратиться в христианство. We talked about it in episode, I don't remember the number, it was about Easter in Russia. To convert to Christianity, принять христианство. Okay, the next sentence. Согласно легенде, людей загнали в реку, и это и был процесс крещения. According to legend, all the citizens were driven into the river, and that was it for a process of baptizing. Well, actually, those who didn't want to go there, they were killed, obviously, and the others were standing in the river, and someone, I guess, said some words, and that was it. They were baptized. They were Christians in that. С тех пор Россия приняла православие. Since then, Russia was converted to the Orthodox Christianity. Of course, it's not like that, just poof, in one day, all of a sudden they're Christians. Of course not, because for generations they were pagan, and maybe next decades, next centuries, most of them were still pagan and still cherished all those gods of nature. But officially this year, 988, is the year when Russia was converted to the Orthodox Christianity. And that was it for this text. Of course, it's not real history of Russia. It's just a very simple text because our purpose here is learning Russian, not learning the Russian history. But if you're interested in Russian history, I highly recommend you one of the podcasts. It is called Russian Rulers History Podcast by Mark Schaus. It's just amazing. He's a professor. I remember listening to his lections like 10 years ago when I was in college. He's the greatest specialist in Russian culture, in Russian history, and he knows Russian, and his podcast is just great. The sound quality is not perfect, but still, the content is worth listening. So again, Russian Rulers History Podcast. You will see the picture of St. Basil Cathedral there. Okay, what else? I received several emails from people who said they really wanted to leave me a review on iTunes, but they didn't know how. So today in the show notes, I decided to put the instructions step by step how to leave a review for my podcast. And please, if you have like 30 seconds to spare, please leave an honest review for me. I really appreciate it. And it will help other people to find my podcast. And that was it for today. Thank you very much for listening. I hope to see you in the next episode of the Slow Russian Language Podcast. Bye-bye.